Laura A. Grace here, the author of Dear Author, Letters from a Bookish Fangirl, Team Lines of Poetry Collection, and Finding God in Anime, which just released this past week and is free on multiple book retailers. I will leave a link down below in the description. Happy Friday, my friends! I'm so excited for this video as I am every time I get to do a manga review on just a manga that I absolutely love. Today is no exception. Oh my goodness, I'm actually so excited right now that I'm almost nervous that I'm not going to be able to express all the things that this manga series did for me, how much I loved it, how much it just was so meaningful, and it was just everything. It was just everything. But before I dive into this review, I actually picked up this series because of the Mermaid Manga Challenge that I was hosting or co-hosting with Maeve at Ever Reading on Instagram. And I picked up this manga because of it, and I'm just so thankful. And I'm thankful to everyone who has just participated this month. It was a lot of fun. I know I missed this past week of doing any of the prompts because of Finding on Anime releasing, but I love this. I had so much fun. So many thanks to Maeve and all the people who participated, and we can dive into this manga review because again, I picked up this manga because of it, and I am just so thankful. I know I've said that twice, but truly, this was like an unexpected find. I didn't know if I would love it, but that series is Dive. And I love these covers so much. These guys have a little permanent part of my heart because just like I said, the time I read this, it spoke so much to me. But let's just admire these covers. I really like this one. Sorry for the glare. But I have to admit, the green color scheme here is absolutely my favorite. I love it. It has two of my least favorite characters from the manga on here, but that's okay. I'll talk more about their character arcs, and like always, no spoilers, or very low spoilers, I try and do no spoilers at all. I said that 3 times. I must be really excited today. But for the covers, for the series as my ultimate favorite, boom, this one. I love how fierce the guys look on this cover. I mean, I like the color scheme as well, but it is probably my favorite just because it has all 3 guys, and I know what happens in this manga, and it just makes me so happy. It just makes me so very happy. So if you're not familiar with this manga, interestingly enough, this was an anime first and then got a manga adaptation. I had talked to somebody on Instagram who had commented on a photo that I had shared of the series, or of cover 1, and they had said that they were a little nervous how the manga was because the anime was so good. And after reading the manga, I can imagine the anime is top notch. I loved this manga, and I'm actually really curious to go check out the anime. So I don't have any experience of how the manga compares to the anime or anything like that, but I just thought I'd mention it. The anime is on Amazon Prime, and I'm I don't have Amazon Prime. Well, I do, but I don't know if I can watch videos, so I have to go investigate this later. But anyway, ramble aside, so this is about our main guy here, Tomoki, who has been basically obsessed with the 10-meter dive. He saw somebody dive when he was a young kid, Yoichi here, who I really like. He saw him dive when he was younger, and Yoichi said some encouraging words to him, and so began Tomoki's obsession with wanting to become a diver. And so he joins this sort of club organization. It's called the Mizuki Diving Club. So it is a club. So he joins there. But the thing is they're not doing really well as a club, and they're sort of on the verge of being shut down until this coach joins, and she's like, look, if one person from this club gets on the Tokyo Olympics team or becomes a Tokyo Olympics delegate, then this club can continue to stay open and everybody can continue to dive. That begins the journey for all 3 of these guys. Now, I love sports manga. You guys know that it's something I talk about often. I love haiku, and this manga gave me all of those sports overtones and just feels that I love and adore so much in manga. It just makes my heart so happy. And as I was reading volume 3 last night, I just was I got up off my couch and I silently cheered. And I was I wish this was a real thing, that I could go in reality and cheer for these guys, because their adventure, how far they have come, was incredible. And one thing that's very unique for this manga, from out of the sports manga that I have personally read, is usually, in sports manga, you have Like the end goal is winning a championship. It's getting on the team or something that usually involves winning. Granted, a personal goal for the main character usually is to overcome an obstacle in their personal life concerning their own skills and talent so that they can, win, say, a championship or what and such. Yes, the end goal is sort of, it seems, to win an Olympic medal, or at least to get on the Olympics team. But there is so much more to this manga than that. Like, literally, so much more than just getting on the Olympics. And I loved it. I loved it so much. It gave such a realism to these characters that was relatable. Like, poor Tomoki, our main guy, I feel so bad for him. In fact, I got really angry with a lot of people that were in his life because he has so much drama in his family life. Like, I wish I could say more about that because I was really upset about some things that happened to him, especially when I think it comes like full blown drama in this one, and it was unacceptable. Like, I'm not saying unacceptable like that the mangaka wrote that or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that like what he went through, what he had to deal with from these certain people was unacceptable. So unacceptable. From family members to friends. It was just wrong. And I was really upset because Tomoki just did not deserve it. I mean, he is a really good main character. I really liked him. And interestingly enough, while he is our main character, all three of these guys, I love them all. I love them all. Like, it's rare where you have, at least for me, in my experience, it was rare for me to be in a position where I genuinely did not know who was my favorite character, because all three of these guys have very compelling stories where, like, you want them to succeed. You want them to go to the, Olympics. But then they have these personal dreams and these personal obstacles that you want them to overcome that first. And the series, like I said, takes a deeper look. I was trying to make a pun. I don't know if that was a successful pun. But it goes deeper than just getting on the Olympics. And I don't think I can really go into details of like examples of how, because that third volume, it gave me goosebumps. It made me tear up. It made me jump off my couch and silently cheer and do a victory dance. It was beautiful. It was everything that you love in sports. And it's everything like just when you see that moment, when you see the character is at the top of the summit and their view is the only view that they will see. Yes. Oh my goodness. It just gets me fired up like just thinking about it, because where Tomoki starts at the beginning and where he goes in the end, he works his butt off, and it is obvious. And Yoichi here, let's talk about Yoichi. So Yoichi is his senpai. He is, I think, 2 years older than him because he was a second grader when I think Tomoki was like a kindergartner. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I know he's a little bit older than him. But he is Tomoki's inspiration for his life and the one who got him interested in diving and encouraged him. And so when you meet Yoichi, like as a reader, you're automatically getting this positive experience and positive view of who Yoichi is. Granted, there are some interesting things where he is not always positive, and you can see that he is definitely at times very selfish. And he's like, that is why diving is perfect for me. It is a one-man sport, and I am sometimes selfish. And yes, sometimes Yoichi is. But I still really like this character a lot. I think he is the one who just really poured life into Tomo and him growing. Like, one of the things that really hit me that I would love to share, because I absolutely loved it so much. It was a turning point for me in how, I wouldn't say just of how I viewed Yoichi, but like the manga as a whole. Okay, so in the beginning, Yoichi and him are talking, and Yoichi tells Tomo, don't give up before you even give a chance. Some things happen. I'm not going to say what they are. You'll just have to read it. And Yoichi tells him, never think something's impossible. Everybody has potential. The same goes for me as it does for you. I love that. I think it's very encouraging when you have this senpai who is sort of, I'm not going to say cold-hearted, but he's not standoffish either. He's very closed. You don't always know what he's thinking. He almost has a cold-like exterior because he's very focus, and he's very devoted to diving. And for him to take the time to just encourage Tomoki when he is like the #1 guy in diving, like nobody can beat his scores. He has the brightest future out of all the people there. His father is an Olympic diver or ex-Olympic diver, but his father has won medals. His mom, she's not into diving, but she has great connections with people in the diving community. So, I mean, there is a lot of expectations and hopes for Yoichi, and he has such a great character arc because he is such a strong and fierce character, and I love his cool-headedness, but I love how, like, when it comes to Tomoki, he is not afraid to get passionate and tell him when he's acting stupid. Even if sometimes, like, it's not the most encouraging way to tell Tomoki, like, your actions are dumb. Yoichi probably could work a little bit on that, but that is part of who he is, and I love his relationship with Tomo very, very much because they have a great friendship. But one of the really awesome and unique things about this story is, you know, most sports manga, it's team focused, it's team based. So you have one character, yes, but they're on a team, and the whole team as a like overall goal for everybody is to do better, is to win. But with diving, it's a one-man sport. And so even though, yes, these guys are on the same team because they're in the same club and they're very good friends, they're still all competing against one another to be the very best. Even though Tomo is the youngest out of these guys, I love how serious they treated Tomo's dream, how serious they treated his passion, and how really they just came alongside him and encouraged him. But not only were they encouraging Tomo, Tomo is encouraging these guys to do the best that they can, and he wants them to do their best because Tomo has a very epic, fiery, passionate moment where he's like, I'm not going to lose to you, Yoichi. I'm going to beat you. I'm going to beat Okitsu, who is this guy here. Which, let's talk about him because he is amazing. Like, I sort of feel out of all of the story arcs, I sort of feel his is my favorite. He is definitely the grumpy guy who's very much lone wolf, but has a great arc and becomes friends. You know the story. It's really, really awesome. I really, really love it. And he has sort of a sad story, and I love how he comes in to this club because it's unexpected, it's different. He brings this fire. Yoichi says he brings almost this anger of his ancestors. There's an epic and great conversation about that between Okitsu and Tomo that I cannot go into, but I will say when they have their one-on-one moments, it is good. It is awesome. And he is just another person that encourages Tomo, but Tomo, being his epic, awesome self, doesn't realize that he's also encouraging the people around him. Tomo's girlfriend, actually, I have very mixed feelings on her. We are not going to talk a lot about her because I have very mixed feelings, but she has a fantastic conversation with Tomo, which I do want to read as well because it was a very encouraging part of this story as well. And I have to talk about that too. And so, sorry, I was reading the part that happens before it, but like you could tell I'm scatterbrained because I was like, we're going to talk about Okitsu, and I'm like, we're going back to Tomo. So Tomo's girlfriend says to Tomo, when we all watch you pursuing your passion, it feels like we've been able to overcome something ourselves. There's a little bit more to that, but it was so good. So good. And I think it's just true. I say all that because I really think it's true for Tomo and how he affects these guys without even realizing how he affects these guys. Yes, he may be younger. Yes, he may not be as experienced, but he is pushing and motivating these guys to give their best just as much as Tomo. Heck yeah. One of my favorite things. But let's go back to Okitsu because I was talking about him and then got back on Tomo. But I do want to say something else about Tomo after I talk about Okitsu. So I love Okitsu. I really, really do. I love just, you hear the story of his grandfather. His grandfather is the one that played a significant role on his life. I don't know if I can say the twist of sorts about Okitsu. His diving, though, is not your typical diving. It's very, very different. And I love the events surrounding him because him and this coach that come into this new coach that comes into the picture, she's sort of almost blackmails Okitsu to join the diving club. That probably sounds a little bit bad, but there's more to it there. But in the simplest, non-spoiler ways, it's almost like she's blackmailing him. So he has his own issues of why he's there, why he doesn't actually like diving in the pool and such. But as you see his story progress through this manga, and then you see it in volume 3, it is so good. It is so good. It really lives up to that. You don't always need to win a medal. You don't always need to win a championship to still feel like you personally won a medal in your life and that you overcame such a huge obstacle. In that moment, you see your dreams realized and you are chasing them to the fullest. You are living the joy in the moment as reality and not just as a dream. His arc fulfills that so very much. Like, it gives me goosebumps just thinking about it, because just the last part of his story, or like the last huge big piece, like where my adrenaline is up, my heart's beating fast, all of that awesome stuff. You're there and you just see he's made it. You have seen he's made it. And that's all I can say about that. But the art as well with this whole series is magnificent. It is magnificent. Like, the way that the swim meets are, the way the dives are captured, especially that scene with Okitsu, was so good. So good. I give massive props to the artists for this, because they brought this story to life in a powerful and moving way that I absolutely loved. Now, I've talked about Yoichi and Okitsu. Let's talk about these two guys in this cover. I shouldn't say it like that, but short story, they are Tomoki's sort of like best friends of sorts, okay? And they are not always the best of friends. As a short story, that's all I'm going to really say about that. But I will say, the reason I want to bring this up is because I did not like a choice that one of the guys made at all, period. Like, unacceptable, no. Just, no. I really was very unhappy with him. I was very angry at him. But his arc was really good. I think there is a great message here to be found, that sometimes you start things with friends and you form a special bond because you're one of the few people in this case that say do diving. They're the only 3 junior high divers in Tokyo, or at least like in this general, I don't know if all of Tokyo, I was getting that impression though, who are junior high divers. And so they have a very special and close-knit bond. They've done this for many years. And then this thing happens. One of them says some really hurtful things to Tomoki, which pretty much wrecks them. And rightfully so, in my opinion. That's why I was so mad. Because, I mean, I was devastated on his behalf. And the thing is, as I was saying, that, yeah, you form this close-knit bond. You say things you don't mean, because then you do realize that sports, I mean, there is a balance of winning and losing, and that people are going to be jealous if you're winning, and people are going to be angry when they're losing. Like, that is a natural part of the sports process, I guess you would say. But this one in particular character, not going to say which one, I don't want to say overcome. I don't know what the right word is. He overcomes the personal struggle in his own life, because he makes some really interesting decisions. He made that one decision that was like, this is unacceptable. I really don't like you. Then he makes another big decision later that was like, why are you doing this? Then I was like disappointed in this character. But then the third story comes around, and it was an amazing message of being true to you, and that you can still have a special bond with other people even if you have sort of changed paths. That was excellent. And I'm glad that the other friend stuck through things, and you see how he grows and just how they encourage one another. Like, it has so many good things there. I don't want to say much about that because those are some big spoilers if I went more in detail about that. But one thing that I can mention that makes this another really unique sports manga, really awesome. And one of the things that actually got me fired up for this story, because when I first was reading Dive, I struggled quite a bit in the beginning of Dive. I mean, there were some parts I really loved, but then there were like, the story felt I don't know if it was maybe, I want to say discombobulated, but I don't think that's the right word. It felt just a little bit rushed, and I felt like it was jumping around a little bit too fast for me to really get a grip on the story and on the characters. Well, actually, I was attached to the characters already. Like, once Yoichi encourages Tomo, I was done for. I was like, yeah, I really like these characters. But then the story was sort of like feeling a little bit everywhere a little bit, or just, I said maybe rushed. I don't know exactly, but I knew that I was like, if this is how the rest of the manga is going to be, like, I don't know if I'm going to enjoy this series, which made me sad because I bought all three at the same time. But fast forward to the middle, and a scene happens. It's actually the scene with Tomo's girlfriend when they're having their conversation, and I was hooked. I was hooked. Tomo talks about wanting to break forth from a box that he feels other people, society, have put him in, and that he dives, and that him diving helps him want and encourages him, pushes him, motivates himself to break free from this box that he has been placed in. And it was so moving. Like, even now, it just is what made Tomoki, in my opinion, an extremely relatable character. The whole thing of Tomoki breaking out of his box and him finding his way to break out of that box is a compelling part of his character. It is a compelling part of this whole story. Diving is unique in that these guys are on a team, but they have these individual stories within this team. So you're not just focusing on one guy. You're getting like a 3-in-1 story kind of here with these characters. And it is so good. And when you see them growing like as teammates and as friends, there is a chapter that is life. It is life. It is so good. It is so good. And I loved it so much. It is, when you read it, you're going to be really, really happy. And I think those are like all of my ramblings for Dive. I love it. I love it. I love it so much. And I'm already looking forward to going back and rereading this. I told myself last night when I finished, I was like, Laura, do not let this series sit on your shelf only to be read once. Like, you better pick it up and you better read it again, because it is one of those series that hits you and impacts you. And you're like, these are not just characters on a page. They are something bigger. They're, bookish friends, and they're people that you relate to, and you want to see them grow and meet their goals. And just where you're like, they're so much bigger than just a guy who loves sports and trying to win. There's so much more to that. Like, with all three of them, there is so much more than just that. Okay, now I will officially stop my ramblings. I highly recommend Dive. There is so much good in this series. If you struggle a little bit within the beginning, hold on, push through, get to the end. You're gonna love this series. I highly recommend it for those who are like, I love sports manga, but I want a little something a little bit shorter. 3 volumes, a lot more easy to read and handle. I also recommend to those who are like, okay, I'm okay with sports manga, but I want some depth. I want some realism. They got you covered. These guys definitely have you covered. Also, can we talk about some cover love here? These are great. It is just a fantastic series that I highly recommend. Let me know, guys, if you like reading sports manga. If anybody has read Dive or seen the anime, I would love to hear your thoughts. Totally let me know all the things. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. And thanks so much for watching. Bye!